Welcome back. We are continuing our journey through Deuteronomy. And if you're wondering why I'm super dressed up, it's because I went to church today. So, yeah, it's just I have discoid lupus, so I have to cover my face up with layers of makeup, and that's what I did today, so people don't look like I got punched in the face because I didn't. Although I also do jujitsu, so that might happen sometime anyways. All right, well, let's get to Deuteronomy. We're going to be talking about chapter 15, chapter 16, chapter 17, and chapter 18. And I'm actually reading from the New King James Version. I don't know if you guys have a different version of the Bible, but you guys might want to check it out and make sure that all the verses are all there. There's some translations where the verses aren't all there, and I believe it's very important that we read a book that doesn't take away. So, might do some research on that. But if you want to grab your Bibles and follow along with me, I am going to be going over chapter 15, where we talk about the debts being canceled every 7 years. Hallelujah. Generosity to the poor. Okay, that's good. The law concerning bond servants. The law concerning the firstborn animals. Chapter 16, we have the Passover reviewed, the Feast of Weeks reviewed, the Feast of Tabernacles reviewed, justice must be administered. Let's see here. Chapter 17 continues on with chapter 16, but it also talks about principles governing kings. Chapter 18, we have the portion of the priests and of the Levites. So, that's very, let's see here. Just gotta organize my computer. Okay. And a new prophet like Moses. So, yeah. So let's get to it. They're kind of shorter chapters, so it'll be nice and fast. Well, not really, but Deuteronomy chapter 15. Debts canceled every 7 years. At the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release of debts. And this is the form of the release. Every creditor who has lent anything to his neighbor shall release it. He shall not require it of its neighbor or his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Of a foreigner you may require it, but you shall give up your claim to what is owed by your brother. Except when there may be no poor among you, for the Lord will greatly bless you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess as an inheritance. Only if you carefully obey the voice of the Lord your God to observe with care all these commandments which I command you today. For the Lord your God will bless you just as he promised you. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. You shall reign over many nations, and they shall not reign over you. Generosity to the poor. If there is among you a poor man of your brethren within any of the gates in your land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not be hardened your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother. But you shall open your hand wide to him and willingly lend him sufficient for his need, whatever he needs. Beware lest there be a wicked thought in your heart saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and your eye be evil against your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he cry out to the Lord against you, and it become a sin among you. You shall surely give to him, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him, because for this thing the Lord your God will bless you in all your works and in all what you do, which you put your hand. For the poor will never cease from the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall open your hand wide to your brother, to your poor, and to your needy into your land. The law concerning bondservants. Your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, is sold to you and serves you 6 years. Then in the 7th year you shall let him go free from you, and When you send him away free from you, you shall not let him go away empty-handed. You shall supply him liberally from your flock, from your threshing floor, and from your winepress. From what the Lord your God has blessed you with, you shall give to him. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore I command you this thing. And if it happens that way, that he says to you, I will not go away from you because he loves you and your house, since he prospers with you, then you shall take an awl and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be your servant forever. Also to your female servant you shall do likewise. It shall not seem hard to you when you send him away free from you, for he has been worth a double hired servant in the serving you 6 years. Then the Lord your God will bless you in all you do. Verse 19. All the firstborn males that come from your herd and your flock you shall sanctify the Lord your God, and you shall do no work with your firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You and your household shall eat it before the Lord your God, before year by year, in the place which the Lord chooses. But if there is a defect in it, or if it's lame or blind or has any serious defect, you shall not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You may eat it within your gates. The unclean and the clean person alike may eat it as if it were a gazelle or a deer. Only you shall not eat its blood. You shall pour it on the ground like water. Chapter 16, the Passover reviewed. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to the Lord your God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord your God brought you out of... Oh, geez. Ooh. All right, let's start over. Verse 1, chapter 16. The Passover reviewed. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover to the Lord your God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night. Therefore you shall sacrifice the Passover to the Lord your God from the flock and the herd in the place where the Lord chooses to put his name. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread with it, that is, the bread of affliction, for you came out of the land of Egypt in haste, that you may remember the day in which you came out of the land of Egypt all the days of your life. And no leaven shall be seen among you in all your territory for 7 days, nor shall any of the meat which you sacrifice the first day at twilight remain overnight until morning. You may not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates which the Lord your God gives you, but at the place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide. There you shall sacrifice the Passover at twilight, at going down of the sun, and at the time you came out of Egypt. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which the Lord your God chooses in the morning, and you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a sacred assembly to the Lord your God. You shall do no work on it. Feast of Weeks reviewed, verse 9. You shall count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain. Then you shall keep the feast of the weeks to the Lord your God with a tribute of free will offering from your hand, which you shall give as the Lord your God blesses you. You shall rejoice before the Lord your God, and your son and your daughter and your male servant. The Levite who is within your gates, the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are among you at the place where the Lord your God chooses to make his name abide. And you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall be careful to observe these statutes. Verse 13, the Feast of Tabernacles reviewed. You shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days when you have gathered from your threshing floor and from your winepress. And you shall rejoice in the feast, and you and your son and your daughter, your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates. 7 days you shall keep a sacred feast to the Lord your God in the place which the Lord chooses, because the Lord your God will bless you in all its produce and in all the works of your hands, so that you surely rejoice. 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord your God in a place which he chooses. At the feast of the unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord your God empty-handed. Every man shall give as he is able according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given to you. Justice must be administered. Verse 18. You shall appoint judges and officers in all your gates, which the Lord your God gives you according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show partiality, nor take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. You shall follow what is altogether just, that you may live and inherit the land which the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not plant for yourself any tree as a wooden image near the altar which you build for yourself to the Lord your God. You shall not set up a sacred pillar which the Lord your God hates. Chapter 17. You shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God a bull or a sheep which has any blemish or defect, for that is an abomination to the Lord your God. If there is found among you with any of your gates which the Lord your God gives you, a man or a woman who has been wicked in the sight of the Lord your God in transgressing his covenant, who has gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it is told to you, and hear of it, then you shall inquire diligently, and if it is indeed true and certain that such an abomination has been committed in Israel, then you shall bring out to your gates that man or woman who has committed that wicked thing, and shall stone him to death, that man or woman with stones. Jeez. Whether is deserving of death, or shall be put to death on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, he shall not be put to death on the testimony of 1 witness. The hands of the witnesses shall be the first against him to be put to death, and afterward the hands of all people. So you shall put away the evil among you. If a matter arises which is too hard for you to judge, between degrees of guilt or bloodshed, between one judgment or another, or between one punishment or another, matters of controversy within your gates, then you shall arise and go to the place which the Lord your God chooses, and you shall come to the priests, the Levites, and the judge there in those days, and inquire of them, and they shall pronounce upon the sentence of judgment. You shall do according to the sentence which they pronounce upon you in the place which the Lord chooses, and you shall be careful to do according to all that they order you, according to the sentence of the law in which they instruct you, according to the judgment which they tell you, you shall do. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left from the sentence which they pronounce upon you. Now, the man who acts presumptuously will not heed the priest who stands to minister there before the Lord your God, or the judge. That man shall die. So you shall put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear and no longer act presumptuously. Principles governing kings, verse 14. Then you shall come into the land which the Lord your God has given you, and possess it and dwell in it, and say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are around me. You shall surely set a king over whom the Lord your God chooses. One from among your brethren you shall set as king over you. You may not set a foreigner over you who is not your brother. But he shall multiply horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt to multiply horses. For the Lord has said to you, you shall not return that way again. Neither shall he multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he greatly multiply silver and gold for himself. Also, it shall be when he sits on the throne of his kingdom that he shall write for himself a copy of this law in a book from the one before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord your God and be careful to observe all the words of this law and these statutes, that his heart may not be lifted above his brethren, that he may not turn aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, and that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, and he and his children in the midst of Israel. Chapter 18. The portion of the the portion of the priests and Levites. The priests and Levites, all the tribe of Levi, shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel, and they shall eat the offerings of the Lord made by fire and his portion. Therefore they shall have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance, as he said to them. And this shall be the priest's due from the people. From those who offer a sacrifice, whether it is a bull or a sheep, they shall give it to the priest, the shoulder, the cheeks, and the stomach, the first fruits of their grain, and their new wine, and their oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep, you shall give him. For the Lord your God has chosen him out of the tribes to stand and minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. So if a Levite comes from any of your gates, from where he dwells among all Israel, and comes with all the desire of his mind to the place which the Lord chooses, then he may serve in the name of the Lord his God with all his brethren, the Levites do, who stand there before the Lord. They shall have equal portions to eat besides what comes from the sale of his inheritance. Verse 9, avoid wicked customs. When you come into the land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or one who practices witchcraft, or a soothsayer, or one who interprets omens and sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritist, or one who calls up the dead. For all who do these things are an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations your God drives them out before you. You shall be blameless before the Lord your God. For these nations which you will dispossess listen to soothsayers and diviners, but as for you, the Lord your God has not appointed such for you. God don't want us to be listening to all these people. He wants us listening to him. Verse 15, a new prophet like Moses. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brethren. Him you shall hear. Who's he talking about, y'all? According to all you desired of the Lord your God in Horeb in the day of assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, nor let me see this great fire any more, lest I die. And the Lord said to me, what they have spoken is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it shall be that whoever will not hear my words which he speaks in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing does not happen or come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously, and you shall not be afraid of him. Well, and that's the end of chapter 18. We will continue with chapter 19 in the next video.